Hey, shalom, shalom, shalom lakam, which is peace unto you all. Hi, Rob Tawab la Atam Za'ach Yakam Yawam Man Rachagador Charlotte, which is good evening. This is your brother Yawan from the GMS Camp in Charlotte. Nachamatam Kaya. Hamalakwat Hashamayim Kwara, repent ye, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Call Halayim La Abanawa Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rocha Kwadash Wamashana La Zaquanium now Wamalakim Shor Chakador, which is all praises to our Father Yahweh, which means he exists. Bahasham, in the name Yahweh Shai, delivers in double honors to the elder and apostles of Great Millstone. So this is an article pretty much going into the Hebrew prefixes and suffixes. All right, which a while back I did a video pretty much going into the prefixes, but I want to touch on some of the suffixes. All right. And the title of this article says Discover the Holy Language. And I'm going to skip down to the suffixes, which when you go into the word for suffix, it just pretty much goes into, a fixation or a fixture to the end of a word. So it says explanations of suffixes. The suffix ha or hana turns a word into a noun and also sometimes means of her. So when ha is at the end of a word, if you were to say shaw ha, that means of her, or oh yeah, that article of clothing or that cup is hers. So if you want to say, oh, that's hers, it'll be shaha, of her, But in this instance right here, it says the suffix ha turns a word into a noun and also sometimes means of her. I want to touch on the part where it says it turns it into a noun. You see, because with words like this right here, I'm gonna get two examples. Which when we go into this word for Laban, it's a verb. It's a verb. It says to be white, to make white, become white. You see, it operates as a verb and it also operates as an adjective, something that describes something. You see, Laban, but when we go over and you add that ha at the end, it essentially turns it into, it feminizes the word. All right, and how it feminizes the word is because it gives a picture. They say in the world, a picture is worth 1,000 words, where, well, a picture is really worth one word, so to speak, because with this being when we go back over this word for verb, all right, that makes it a verb, you see, but by adding this ha to it, all right, ultimately it turns it into, it feminizes it, it produces it. All right, the ha means to behold, and I actually want to, I'll read a little bit more into this. It says the letter ha or hana means be as in to exist, literally be as or shall be as a statement of faith, in which when you add the ha or the ah at the end of a word, which that goes into the letter ha as well, generally it does feminize the word, but it says or shall be as a statement of faith. The presence of this letter at the end of a verb turns the word into a noun because, for example, the verb break open with the letter ha added to the end reads break open, be as, and describes a valley or open plain. So by having a verb, it'll turn it into a noun. So another example would be, let's get this. Let's get, we'll go to this verse right here, Isaiah 62:6. Get this word for watchman. And we'll go over to the right until it says shamara. And it says a feminine noun, So whereas shamar is a verb which goes into watch or to guard, to observe, to give heed. All right, when you put that ha at the end, it turns it into a noun, shamara. Pretty much going into a guard or watch, something that you can actually see. It brings it forth, because going back to this, it says the letter ha means be, exist, as in to exist or shall be as a statement of faith. The presence of this letter at the end of the verb turns the word into a noun because, for example, the verb break open with the letter ha added to the end reads break open, be as, and describes a valley or open plain. So pretty much it has the verb, and then by adding the ha, it pretty much brings it into attention. You see, and being that it's bringing it into attention, it's therefore feminizing the word. So when I say feminized, essentially, what is the feminine duty? You see, because the Israelite woman does have a very important role under the Israelite man. You see, and let's actually get that. This is Second Corinthians chapter 11. Excuse me, First Corinthians chapter 11, and we'll get verse 3. I'll start at verse 1. And it says, "Be ye followers of me, even as I also am of Hamashiach. Now I praise you, brethren, that ye remember me in all things and keep the ordinances as I delivered them to you. But I would have you know that the head of every man is Hamashiach, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Hamashiach is the Most High." You see, so the woman has an important role under the Israelite man. All right, and the Israelite man has an important role under Hamashiach. All right, and the Lord Yahweh Shai has an important role under the Most High Yahweh. You see, the Lord deals with order. You see, so touching on the Ha and how it essentially makes something come forth, or makes it exist, or makes a verb exist as a noun, which a verb is an action word. A noun is something that pretty much is, it is and is there, it has to exist. So Ha allows for things to exist, all right, in a linguistic standpoint, and in a scriptural standpoint. By adding the Ha to it, it feminizes it, you see, because what is the woman's duty? Let's get this. Zatahoyam, this is Psalms chapter 128. And we'll get verse 3. And it says, I'll start from verse 1. It says, "Blessed is everyone that feareth the Lord, that walketh in his ways. For thou shalt eat of the labor of thine hands. Happy shalt thou be, and it shall be well with thee. Thy wife shall be as a fruitful vine by the sides of thine house. Thy children like olive plants round about thy table." All right, and I'm gonna get this in the NLT, verse 3. The point, it says, your wife will be like a fruitful grapevine flourishing within your home. Your children will be like vigorous young olive trees as they sit around your table. So if you have a fruitful wife, essentially that means that she brings forth fruit, offspring. All right, right here it says, "To cause to bear fruit, branch off to show fruitfulness." It says literally, it says fruitful, grow, increase, because essentially, the seed, the man ultimately brings the seed. You see that with the woman being that house, or with the position that she has, how the Lord set it up, essentially, women they bear the children. So pursuant to, the woman's position, a woman can be fruitful from essentially pretty much in the reproductive cycle, being it says a fruit bearing tree, so it says to render fruitful, to increase with offspring, because you got some women that are barren. If a woman is not barren, then she would be said to be fruitful. Hence why right here, different words, it says fruitful, and all of these, if I'm not mistaken, all of these are essentially related to the word for fruit. Fetum, frugis, pheo. It says fetus. Pretty much going into fruitful. All right. So continuing on, let's go back to that article. All right, and it says the use of this suffix to mean of her may. It says it may have been a later concept because both the prefix and suffix indicating a female also indicate something else. But pretty much the point that I wanted to grab was the Ha means to behold. So being that something is being beheld, it has to be reproduced. All right. Now, let me get this. Yeah, hold on. All right, give me a second. Let's get I'm gonna get Genesis chapter 25. Chapter 25, and we'll get verse 32. All right, and it says, and Esau said, behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do unto me? Or excuse me, do to me? You see, so that's essentially when Esau, gave up his birthright to Yaakov, our forefather. You see, which it says, behold, behold, we're going into this word for behold is hana, and it essentially corresponds with the letter ha. That's the word for ha, which will be behold. You see, so when you add ha to a word, essentially it brings forth a picture. So reading this, it just brings it to light. It says, and Esau said, behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do to me? So you can only picture it in your mind how Esau essentially, was acting, but pretty much the point that out of the scripture that I want to get was the word for behold, because it brings it forth. It allows for it to be productive or reproduce. So when adding it to a word, all right, it's gonna bring it, it's gonna make it exist. So whereas we got this word right here, it says Laban, it says white. When we get this root word, the adjective, when we get the verb, it says Laban, to be white. Something actively being white, that would be a verb. To make it white or to become white, that would be a verb. But when you add that ha to the end, all right, it's bringing it forth to life. Because ha, again, it feminizes it. All right, we can go to the feminine right here. It feminizes the word, so it's existing as something that's white. Tile, pavement, brick, labana. Essentially, it's existing as white. So it's pretty much making that verb into a noun, and that's why that ha was added. In the order of things. When we put it in the order that we got in 1 Corinthians 11th chapter, women bring forth fruit. Women are said as fruitful. Just to prove that point, let's get Lamentations. We'll get Lamentations chapter 2, and we get verse 20. And it says, behold, O Lord, and consider to whom thou hast done this. Shall the woman eat their fruit, and children of a span long? Shall the priest and the prophet be slain in the sanctuary of the Lord? All right, NLT. And it says, O Lord, think about this. Should you treat your own people this way? Should mothers eat their own children, those they once bounced on their knees? Should priests and prophets be killed within the Lord's temple? Showing you that women can have fruit, essentially, them bearing children, that goes into their fruit. All right, another example. Let's get this, the word for fruit. It says fruit, produce of the ground, fruit, offspring, children, progeny of the womb. You see? So, again, just provide some examples of how women can be fruitful, and how essentially how the letter ha, again, the reason that ha is used as the reason that it feminizes a word is because, or it turns a word feminine. I keep saying feminizing, but the reason that it turns a word feminine is because that ha means to behold, and again, women produce and bring forth offspring, through the seed of the man, of course, in order. All right, I'm gonna get this as well though. All right, This is Zamashal, y'all. This is Proverbs chapter 14. We'll get verse 1. It says, every wise woman buildeth her house, but the foolish plucketh it down with her hands. You see, so a wise woman is gonna build her house. She's going to essentially follow the order under the Israelite man, all right, and so on and so forth. You see, and do it in righteousness with, you know, a wicked woman tearing it down with their hands, you know, being out of order. You know, I'm curious what it says in the commentary. I'm gonna grab it. It says, the wise woman builds her house. Wisdom builds. It looks at what is and wisely considers how to make it better. It says many homes have been made by a godly wise woman who looks after the home and builds it. It says by her prudent and industrious management, she increases property in the family. You see, so increase. All right, so by taking that masculine word, all right, in a linguistic in a linguistic standpoint, okay, it says by her prudent and industrious management, she increases property in the family. So Laban, that was a masculine word. That was a verb. You see, so adding the ha to it, all right, Labana, it essentially it increased, it built on the house, all right, that was already provided by that male word. You see, in order, you see. So it says in the family, furniture in the house, and food and raiment for her household. This is the true building of a house. The thriftless wife acts differently, and opposite is the result. You see, so even when we look at the Hebrew language, it's a certain order. You see, so it starts with the male, all right, and the woman adds to that man. There isn't a takeaway. It has to be an add, and by adding the ha at the end of that word, it essentially makes that word feminine, and it builds, it adds to that male's house. You see, so, and that's in order. I'm gonna finish this out though. In the commentary, it says the foolish pulls it down, folly tears down instead of supporting and building what is. Folly shows its destructive nature. It says the woman of a home has tremendous power to make it better or a worse place. All right. And it says with her hands as the husband is as the head from whom all the sinews do flow. So she as the hands into which they flow and enable them to do their office. It says note the fool in which it says to do their office, you know, because ha brings forth. It allows something to exist. All right. It gives a picture. It gives a picture. Laban is to be white, you see. But when you say labana, it's something that appeared. You know, it appeared white. All right, labana is the word for brick or tile. You know, it's something that you can see. You know, if we was to get the word for shamar, which means to guard, right? It means to guard. In Isaiah 62 and verse 6, that word is shamar yam. Our root word shamar, but when we go to shamara, it says guard, watch. You see, that's the actual visible thing, the guard or the watch. You know, that's the actual position, you know, a watch or a guard, you know, with shamar being the verb. All right, by adding the ha, it's bringing it into fruition. So it's making it into a picture. That's why, you know, to reiterate, that's why I said a picture is worth one word. You know, hana, to behold, you know, to exist as, you know, whatever the verb was. That's how it works. Bahalashwan Kwadash, you know, that's how it works in the Holy Tongue, you know. One word allows for the actual verb to come to pass, you know. So I'm gonna get one more, and then that'll be it. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 14. We'll get verse 40. It says, let all things be done decently and in order. And, you know, that's the point right there. Let everything be done decently and in order. When we look at everything that is done, it's a certain order to things. All right. Nothing it skips the order. Everything follows that specific order. All right. Going back to where this says the wise woman builds her house, but the foolish pulls it down with her hands, roughly paraphrasing, because sometimes the commentary doesn't quote it correctly. But it says, by her prudent and industrious management, she increases property in the family, furniture in the house, and food and raiment for her household. This is the true building of a house. The thriftless wife acts differently, and the opposite is the result. You know, right here it says with her hands, Salat. But that was pretty much the point right here. You know, a woman adds to something. You see, so when we put it in terms of the words that we got for Shamar, Shamara, and also Laban and Labana, the Ha made that verb from the male into a picture, so that it was something that we could see. You see, and that's essentially how it makes a word feminine when you add the Ha on the end. You see, so I just wanted to go into that. You know, we went into, some of the parts of how ha acts as a suffix, and at times too, which I do a video on this as well. But the ha goes into something that's of her, like I said in that article. So if you said shawha, that means hers. Or if you said banha, that means her son. So yeah, just wanted to go into that. Adamar Tazaz Abanaya Pa, Lord's will. That was a beautiful edification through the spirit. Adamar Tazaz Atam Yashlayla Tawab, Lord's will. You all have a good night. Wa shalom lakam, which is peace unto you all. Shalom, shalom.